webinar. And what I want to do is just kind of set the stage of what we're going to cover. Many of you have been a long time ProspectNow users. Some of you maybe not so much. So what I want to do before we dive into the demo and show you single tenant net lease properties and how you can find them, I just want, and I think it's important from a relationship perspective, how ProspectNow works from a property search perspective as well as a tenant search perspective. And then when we put it together, which is essentially what we do, I can show you how simple it is to find these types of properties and owners. So again, as Ezra mentioned, we'll have a Q&A at the end. Please feel free to jot down any questions you have, get those over to Ezra, and we'll be able to take care of those at the end. For those of you that are not familiar with us, it's more than just a commercial real estate database. It's really a lead generation and marketing platform that's really designed specifically for real estate professionals. Regardless if you're doing commercial, industrial, leasing, or what have you, but finding and identifying and predicting which properties are likely to sell, likely to refi, and then be able to reach out to them, whether it's get their phone number, get their email address, use built-in tools for direct mail, and we even have now the ability for you to conduct digital advertising campaigns to your audiences as well, which is a different webinar altogether. But anyway, so ProspectNow Property on the commercial side is really where we started, and so it's a nationwide property inventory, commercial, industrial, multifamily. You can search for many different filters. In other words, by location, by property type, by property demographic, by owner location, by lending information, get the owner contact information and pierce that kind of veil of the holding company and get true decision maker names. We have a tenant piece that allows you to search for businesses nationwide that integrates with the property search, and that's important because that's how we use it in a single tenant net lease situation. So you can search for tenants or businesses by industry, by SIC code or NIAX code, or by location, or by keyword, or other business demographics like sales and growth and employees. Now, I'm not the expert in this, but obviously single-tenant net lease properties are very unique, right? They're freestanding, office, industrial, retail. They typically have long-term leases with increasing rent provisions built into the lease. And tenants are obviously responsible for the triple net piece, taxes, insurance, repairs, utilities. And as you know, these are valuable because the value of these are determined not just by the property, but the tenant credit and the length of the lease and the rent escalations and obviously the building fundamentals as well. It makes it really attractive for investors kind of across the spectrum, right? The yield isn't as great for obvious reasons, but it's investment grade asset, right? Some of those benefits are they maintain value in a volatile market. They provide passive income, with frankly minimal owner responsibility, and obviously depending upon the tenant that's in there, the corporation behind that basically guarantees the performance of the property, right? And they use these long-term leases, frankly, to take the asset and debt off of their books and put it on the investor's books, right? So it's there's a lot of reasons why this is an advantageous asset class. Now, the downside, obviously from an investor perspective and maybe even a broker perspective, competition for these is really stiff, right? You have REITs and insurance companies and pension funds all want investment grade assets. Well, the advantage of using ProspectNow to identifying, if you have a client that's looking for a specific type of property, it can be hard, especially if it's out of your kind of geographic area, to understand where are these and how do I reach them and who's the owner and all that kind of stuff, right? Our advantage is the two things that I showed you before. It's that integrated tenant and property search, because we have all of the properties nationwide and we have businesses. We match those together so you can, from any point of view, see the tenants in a property. You can search for properties by the tenant as well, so you can go both ways, right? Search by tenant, by location, get the property owner information, and be able to very rapidly ascertain, or at least reach out to, market to, call, talk to, get in discussions with the current owners of these properties. I'm going to go, and I'm going fast, so I want to be kind of sensitive to your time needs as well. And many of you know a lot of what we've already shown you. So I'm going to do a demo now, and before I actually show the single tenant net lease demo, I'm going to do a really quick demo on the property search and a real quick demo on the tenant search, and then show you the single tenant net search, and we'll go through several kind of iterations of that so you can see how it works. And while we're doing this, jot down any questions. I'll try to answer those at the end. I'll do my best to answer those at the end, and we can kind of let you go. But this view here is just a screen capture. I'll go to the demo real quickly, but sometimes it's as simple as, I'm looking for Chick-fil-A. You put the tenant name in, put the location, search, find all of those, and then we match up the property and the owner of that property, which you can see in the upper right-hand corner. So let's go to ProspectNow. And again, so let's do a property search first. Now, this is not a single tenant net lease search. This is a simple property search. But I think it's important for you to see it real quickly so you understand how it works. So now I'm searching for properties. Go to the property search. I can go to more filters, and you can see you can do it by location, whether it's in a particular county, or you can do it nationwide, for example. You can even take existing addresses that drop them in a multiple address search and see all of the information on that. So you can search by location, the types of properties, and any demographic to the property you want. Do I want a building size, square footage, when it was built? You can do it by even owner-occupied, yes or no, right? You can do things like find properties nationwide whose owners get a tax bill or reside in a particular city, for example. Or you can filter by any type of financial information, whether it was the date of the sale, the price, the loan amount, the lender, whatever you want, you can find. So I'm going to do some simple one. I'll do a simple one. And I'm in this particular county. Let's say I just want commercial offices that are, whatever, 20,000 to 40,000 square feet. I'm just going to make it simple. And then one of the things that you can do, typically that has happened in the past, is you'd search by sale date or loan date to try to narrow down something in a 5-year range or a 7 or a 10-year range, thinking that those types of owners have a decision to make. I'm going to go out and find those that have a note coming due. I need to pay off the note, I need to refinance, or I need to sell. Well, you can still do that, but we also have what's called predictive analytics built into ProspectNow. Simply by clicking on this likely seller field here, it enables the ProspectNow algorithm to examine the properties that you've chosen in this particular area, and we score them and rank them based on our estimate of whether or not they're likely to sell in the next 12 months. And we get that information from the 8 years of transactional history that we have on these properties. And it's borne out pretty well, right? So now when you do that, you can anticipate about, an uplift of about 2x, so that you're now eliminating many of the properties that have basically no shot of selling in the next 12 months and just focus on the ones that you want. And you can see here, here's the results, 20 to 40,000 square foot office space in Santa Clara County that we deem likely to sell in the next 12 months. And you can see these seller scores here. The higher the number, the better. And you can see they're color coded as well, right? So that's it. It's pretty simple. And when you click on one of these, you can examine the property. So here's all the characteristics of the property, square footage, when it was built, what the last purchase price was, who the lender was, who the seller was, and then we have the owner as well. So here's the owner that appears on the title with their mailing address. You can look up a phone number, and in many cases we'll match a phone number here, and you can save this to your database that's built into ProspectNow. So simple, right? That quickly we found exactly what you wanted, where you wanted it, matched you up with the owners, and gotten you contact information. A couple of other things here is we find tenants in that building and display those for you here as well. And if you want, you can kind of click through and see the information on the business. And there's a transactional history tab here on the property as well. So that's how ProspectNow property search works. I'm looking for the building, looking for the owner. There you have it. Now, I'm going to go to the ProspectNow tenant search. So now the scenario switches. Let's say I'm doing leasing, for example, and I'm a landlord rep, and I'm looking for, the ability to look for businesses that might be a good fit for my vacancy. So here, this is a nationwide search of about 18 million businesses, and you can do things in various ways. You can search by keyword. Most likely, this is the use case for using the business name. So if you know the name of the business, you can do that. You can restrict it or filter by location, city, state, zip code. You can do radius searches. You can look for companies based on their industry keyword or an SIC code or a NIAX code. And then you can further filter by the type of location. Am I looking for headquarters? Am I looking for single locations? Am I looking for size of business by sales or employees, things like that. So kind of the most common use case from a landlord rep perspective is I have a vacancy, right? I have a vacancy. My vacancy is at 201 Main Street, Los Altos, and it is a dental office or a medical office. And so I want to do a 3-mile search around my vacancy for, let's call it, dentists, right? So I can do that. Notice the keyword pops up here. I can choose that. And now I have a legitimate search for businesses that meet that criteria. But what if I wanted to find the ones that just rent? I can make that selection as well and do a search. So now I'm searching and finding businesses that meet my criteria in a space that's legitimately feasible for someone that is currently renting space that maybe they either want to exist, or they either want to expand or move, or they just, maybe their lease is running out, whatever, right? So here is the business. Here is their kind of demographics on the business. Here is a contact with a contact phone number, right? So you can, that's the way the tenant search, or that's one way a tenant search can work. And again, I encourage you, if you have any questions, hit up Azra and we'll get to those at the end. Now, let's, after all this, let's talk about the single tenant net lease search. So what you would do there in this case, now that you understand the relationship of the property search and a tenant search, you can go into the tenant search and you can search directly from here. I'm going to go into the more filters. It's a little bit easier, and I'm going to reset this search. Now it's as simple as the most common use case is looking for a tenant, a known tenant or occupant in a single tenant net lease type freestanding property, right? So you can use anybody. I don't care if it's CVS, Walgreens, Jack in the Box. I don't care if it's retail, office, restaurant. but this is the most simple way of doing it, right? So for example, I don't know if you guys have these around, there's a few of these in California, but there's a thing called, like, let's call it the learning experience, right? At least in California, I've seen these are like freestanding properties. So for example, I'll just do this nationwide. Simple, name of the business, right? Search. This is hitting the nationwide database and finding every business that is the learning experience. We have 110 results, as you can see, right? So now you can see them on the map. They're all over the place. Well, let's now you've done that. Let's say, okay, great. I actually want to see the ones that are in Texas, right? Because that's where my investor wants to be. So Texas it is, and I search there, and now we've limited them to the ones in Texas, right? So, you know, we can go through and just kind of pick one of these. Boom. So here's the company, right? We already know that. And here is the property they're occupying, right? Here's the address. Here's the property type. Here's the demographics on the property, size of the building, when it was built, when it was last purchased, lender, seller. All of that information is here for you, right? And of course, as in the property search, we have the owner information as well. So the owner here is some sort of LLC, 4102 Richmond LLC. Here's their mailing address. And because of that, we have kind of dug behind that and gotten to the partner, which is another LLC, right? With the organizer as J. Patrick LaRue. So theoretically, we do have a decision maker, right? Now, what you can do here is you can actually pierce through this one too. So if I clicked on this, for example, I can see that here is the original owner on title, the partner, here's the partner, here's the other holding company, and then there's the true person right here, Martha S. LaRue, right? That's the true owner of this property, right? And so what I can do now, if I want to, is I can see, well, obviously there's probably a relationship here. I can look up a phone number. I can click on Get Phone and see if I can get to somebody here. And in this case, it's looking for matches based on the address. Didn't quite find the right one. So maybe what I do is I go in here and I see if I can find the right person. Right, so I already know it's Martha LaRue, so let's do that, and we know that the mailing address, I believe, was in Texas, so let's just kind of leave it there, and let's see if we get a match. We may not, we might. There you go, Martha LaRue, and we have a couple of these. It's probably this one in Katy, because guess what, right? The tax mailing address is in Katy, Texas, right? So there you go. I've saved that, put it in my contact database, boom, there I go. Okay, so, but the gist of this is name of the business, location, search, we find all the companies that match your search, properties, and owner, okay? I know what you're thinking. Does it work for something else? Well, yeah. You know, let's do Tractor Supply. Okay, how about Tractor Supply or TSC? Maybe let's look in California and see what comes up. And by the way, sometimes you're going to get results like this where there's Tractor in the name, but it's not really Tractor Supply. So you might need to do things like put a quotation around your search. So that would mean I'm just looking for Tractor, the words Tractor Supply, like that. And see, now you can see there's a better kind of match here, right? So we can kind of take a look at one of these, right? And here's the company again. It's in Ukiah. And here's the property it occupies. There's the address, here's the demographics on the property, and here's the owner. Wilcon LLC, mailing address. We've pierced behind that and we found the partner like that, and we can try to get a phone number. Nothing there. Okay. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you got to look, you know, with like a last name, right? So we'll try to do that as well. McMon Goal. You know, if they're unlisted, then they're unlisted. It happens. Ah, so, you know, we didn't quite get the right match. There's McGonagall's, not a William, not a John, but we may be able to find them triangulating in a different way, right? But there you go, okay? So that's how you can find Tractor Supplies, for example. What else can I think of for an example? How about a Jiffy Lube? Those are, I mean, I always see those. Those always look like freestanders, right? So Jiffy Lube, maybe I'll put the quotes around this time and make it a little bit more direct. And, you know, whatever, California. We could look all over, but I'm sure there's like thousands of those. 222 in California, for example. Let's look at this one. Long Beach. There you go. Owner, Los Alamitos Development. We have a partner name. So you can see right away how helpful this is. It helps you identify these potential ones very, very quickly. I mean, I don't even know how you would do this in any other way. It's just really difficult. You could go to the website, find all the Jiffy Lubes in the areas that your investor wants, write those down, pick up the phone, call, go to the state, look up the property addresses. There's just a lot of things you could do, but it would take you time. This allows you to just kind of condense that research time pretty quickly, right? I mean, you could do this like in an afternoon where your investor says, I want to buy a couple of these in Northern California, and you could do this list in a few seconds and start picking up the phone and calling these property owners to see if they have any proclivity to sell, right? How about, you know, 7-Elevens or Dollar Generals, right? That's probably another one. That's a big deal. If we go around the country here, there's probably like hundreds of those. There's a lot of those. Okay, so let's make it from California again. There's probably a lot of those too. I see them all over the place. Yeah, see, there's a ton of these things, right? A ton of these things. So again, my point is see how fast and easy it is to find these? It's just amazing how fast this is to do, right? So here's another one. Let's put the quotes around it. I think that'll get better results because then you're kind of weeding out any business that has the word dollar and general in it unless it's together like this. That's what the quotes mean. Yeah, there you go, Dolgen Corp LLC. So there you go. That's what you're looking for, right? You look at one of these, and you can see here's the business in Victorville, California, high desert. You can see the property information, and you can see the owner information, right? There you go. All right. I could kind of go on, but you probably get it. It's really, really simple to do. Now, so that's what I wanted to present to you today. So Azra, I mean, if there's any questions, it might be a good idea to do that now, just in terms of, you know, that really, you know, from the rest of the slideshow, it's really just kind of a synopsis or a summary. You know, what we're here to do is to help you just compress your research time because really, you know, your time is way more valuable, you know, talking to prospects, talking to investors, doing your research, producing your reports, doing all the things you need to do to ascertain or gather a listing and or sell or market the listing. And so, you know, we just want to be there for you when you need us in your efforts. And so, yeah, that's really it. if you want to be more efficient with your time, this is really a tool to use. I know many of you use it. Many of you use it a lot. Some of you don't. We have some best practice videos for you that we can start sending to you. I'm sure there's a lot of things up on your internal site that's helpful, but you can also reach out to us too. There's a chat, there's a phone number, there's an email to get help, and don't be afraid to help. We always have people here to, walk you through scenarios or answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Warren. So we have a couple of questions. One of them is, can ProspectNow include APN and property ID in all types of results? APN and property ID are unique and helps in Excel lookups.
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, if you can see my screen again, when you go to this property, there should be, let's see here, if I drill down here to the property, there should be a parcel number. There it is. There's the APN right there. So every property will have an APN number or a parcel number, either one. It's the same thing, obviously. If there isn't one there, it's probably a problem and we need to fix that. Or it could be there are certain counties and jurisdictions that may not have it for certain property types. Believe it or not, I've seen that, and they're using the address. But the answer is yes, it's on theoretically on every record. And you can search for it, right? So if you know that particular parcel number, for example, if you know what it is, you can go to the property search and search right there, right? Oh, I'm in the wrong county. Disregard that. So you can search. I don't know what county that I was in. You have to be in the specific county. Let me see if you can do it nationwide. Hang on a second. I don't think so. I think you have to be within that county. Yes, you do. So if you're in the county, in the right county, let's do this. Let me show you a better example. So if I do this search and I go here, and the property has an APN number, and I copy that, and I'm just doing this for example, right? I go back to the property search, reset that search. I can search by APN number, just like that, and there it is. So if you know it, it's easy.
Perfect. Okay, let's see another question from Ming Ming Griffin. She wants to check on, I want to check on the lease rent rate of Victoria's Secret at 516th Street, Denver. How can I get this info?
What was the information again?
516th Street, Denver.
Yeah, but what was the information she was looking for?
Oh, lease rent rate of.
Okay. So just to make it clear, what we do not have is we don't have any information that would be held on the lease itself. We don't know lease expiration dates. We don't know the cap rates. We don't know anything like that. The only thing that we know is the property information, the loan information in most areas, and the owner information. But as far as a lease information goes, we don't know that. There are companies out there that say they know that, like lease expiration dates, but we pretty much know they're guessing. And of course, there are companies out there for a finite number of markets and property types will have lease information. What we've found, and again, we were founded by a commercial real estate professional, is that the best way to get that information is to call, is to get a hold of the owner and ask. And or what happens a lot of times, this one's actually not going to work, but there will be, when you go on here, you can find the property and call tenants, and they may be willing to talk to you about that, but we don't have that information.
Thank you, Warren. Any other questions? Please type them in the question box.
And we got an easy group today.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you have any other questions, that's awesome. I also want to say thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. If you do have anything specific, please reach out to us. There's a chat at the bottom right-hand corner of the page. There's contact information here. You can reach up in the contact area of the website. That's in the upper right-hand corner and ask for some help. The best way is chat. It's like, hey, I'm looking for this. How do I do it? They'll be happy to either get you to a resource or answer the question right then and there. Yeah. Anything else, Ezra?
That's all on our end.
Okay.
And also, please remember, if you do have any more questions, email us commercial@kw.com. And also, this will be recorded and posted on KW Connect next week. All right.
Awesome. Awesome, Ezra.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Warren, very much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, everybody.